Hi, my name is Cooper Knowlton from Bergstein, Flynn and Knowlton. We are joined today by Barry Davidoff, a partner at Davidoff Consulting, who specializes in tax planning and financial consulting for businesses and individuals. We hosted a webinar a couple days ago with Barry, or a couple weeks ago with Barry on the PPP, and we thought we'd bring Barry back to answer a couple follow-up questions that our clients and people in our network have asked. So Barry, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm more than welcome, Cooper. And again, it's very useful for these webinars for people to understand more about government aid programs.
I agree. All right, so Barry, quick question. Why don't we start off by just maybe providing the audience with a general update on the program? I know we've had a lot of people who have applied. We know a lot of people who have applied. What are you hearing? Are you hearing people who are starting to get money at this point? Are you hearing there's some fear, I know, about the money running out? Maybe you can just give a general overview on sort of what the landscape is looking like at this present moment.
Generally, the payroll protection program is being greatly overprescribed, and I do not fear that they are going to run out of money. Is that so far there are commitments for about 60% of the $350 billion original dollars that were made. However, there is a lot of pressure to increase that by another $250 billion. The Republicans want to increase it, and it would be very hard in a declining economy for Democratic senators and representatives to really be voting no, that they don't want to aid small business. That's antithetical to the Democratic Party. So I see that as being continued to be funded. What I see is that some people have gotten basically the loans or approvals on it. And then also once you have an approval, it's still a week or two until the money actually is available in your account.
Gotcha. What are you hearing, or what are you advising independent contractors and sole proprietors at this present moment? I know there's been a lot of confusion based on the bank's applications, what they're asking for. There's a lot of people who are independent contractors who think they can't apply. I've heard that. What are you advising individuals or freelancers in that position at this present moment?
My firm deals with a large number of independent contractors, and we're encouraging them all to apply. Now, the thing that we're doing is we're providing them with an enhanced financial package. So one of the things we're doing is we're providing a complete income and expenses. We're attaching Schedule C from their latest return. In many cases, it's a 2008 return, in which case the numbers will be based upon how they're doing. We're providing a forecast of basically how much money they earned in the last 18 months as well. So that way, the bank has within the corners of the document more than enough information to make a decision. Now, a lot of independent contractors saw this on television or they saw it on the internet. They applied immediately. They didn't provide information, and they're just going to sit in the queue and they may miss out. So it's really important to have a professional, to have basically a financial person, a law firm, an accountant aid them in doing it. It doesn't take that long to do it, but getting that professional touch. The other thing is that I encourage everyone to do a nice cover letter saying that essentially my business is way down. I am in need of the stimulus package.
Do you think there's anything that individuals who have already applied can do, or is it too late for individuals who have already submitted their applications?
What I would do is basically try to get a hold of whoever the bank is, and I cannot stress personal contact, is that in this internet age, is that the idea of like the local personal banker that we used to have is pretty much gone, but you can usually get a hold of even someone at a Chase or a Bank of America to at least look into your case and then provide them with more information. Now, the clients that received the money early were basically people who had been with regional banks or community banks and had long standing in the community in terms of not just only being like a bank client, but actually they knew the people. They really knew the people. And that's something that I am strongly recommending after this whole problem is over, is that if you're basically with a very large bank, look at maybe a community bank, which would be a better fit in the long run, that is more interested in helping you.
What about the advice of applying for a PPP loan through multiple banks? Have you heard of anyone who's done that? I've been asked about that. What would you advise someone who maybe has an application at a big bank and then wants to now apply at a regional bank?
What I would be doing is I would be reaching out to the smaller and regional banks to see if you are not a customer, whether or not they will even accept your application. I have had people that applied, and because you're not a customer, they're not even going to take the application. So yes, it would be. And then SBA, because everything is either running on your employer identification number or your social security, will be filtering anyway. So it's not likely that you'll get multiple loans, but it probably would be worthwhile to at least see, is there a smaller bank in your area that can perhaps lend to you?
Do you have any other general advice for people who are going through this process now, or potentially considering other financing options at this present moment?
I would say that there's a lot of other financing opportunities. First of all, is that we have the economic disaster loan, which is also administered by SBA. Everyone that I have that applied for the payroll protection is also applying for the EIDL, because the criteria there are a little bit different. The EIDLs are not just limited to 2.5 months of salary or salary equivalent. The EIDLs can be a lot larger. And then another thing that people should be aware of is that they did change the IRA law substantially. You can now withdraw up to $100,000 from your IRA, and as long as you replace it with inside of 3 years, and that number seems to be by December 31st, 2022. So it's actually almost 3.5 years. And what that will do is that you can basically pay down your bills. So I'm advised one client who had a rather large Amex for which he financed his inventory, for which he's paying 28% on Amex. Go to your IRA, pay down your Amex, and the stock market is unlikely to provide that 28% rate of return over the next 3 months. And you've eliminated that bill, and you are now a favored client of Amex. So there is alternative financing out there, and it's being creative. And it's, again, working with your law firm, all right, working with basically your financial advisors, working with accountants in trying to provide a very professional approach. And then the other thing is, Cooper, I want to stress again, in your last webinar, you also pointed out that people who have existing loans have to be very careful about violating loan covenants. So you really need a review to see if you have certain types of real estate mortgages, commercial leasing, et cetera, is that you may have to notify the lessor of the property that you're in, that you are basically lending, that you've borrowed more, making sure all your covenants are up to date, and good legal and accounting advice is invaluable. People who are spending the money for the professionals are doing better. Also, the companies that received the payroll protection really early on were the larger ones, companies with between 1 and 10 million, which are really large by independent contractor standards. But they had the financials, they had the banking relationship, and they are good credit risks. And the other thing in the entire program is that the bank, even though it is guaranteed by the government, they are looking at a credit risk. Is that they are not going to lend to a person who's a home contractor who basically is processing through $75,000 a year, making a profit of $25,000 and saying, yes, we're going to lend.
All right, Barry. Well, this has all been very helpful. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to end the recording here, and hopefully we'll check back in again in a few weeks.
Always happy to help, Cooper. And again, I strongly recommend, Cooper's Law Firm for anyone that basically needs any help in this area. And I'm always available at Davidoff Financial Consultants. But thank you so much, Cooper.
Thanks, Barry. Be well. Take care.